Hi everyone, I am Elisha Snow and I wanted to spend the next few minutes giving you some tips on how you can train your eye to more creatively see the world around you as you're taking photographs. I wanted to take you on a little tour of my thought process as I'm taking pictures, whether it's professionally on a photo shoot or just here at home taking pictures of my kid inside or outside. A few days ago, we had a fabulously warm day here in Utah, so I sent my 3-year-old son Miles and his cute cousin Grace outside with some sidewalk chalk, and I immediately picked up my camera and followed close behind them. When we got out there, instead of just automatically taking pictures right away, I sat and I just kind of evaluated the situation for a little while. I looked at the light, I looked where the shadows were falling, I looked at how the two kids were interacting with each other, what they were drawing on the sidewalk, what they were saying to each other, how they were positioned, what things were in the background, kind of all that type of stuff. And it was only then, after I'd sat there for a while, that I began snapping photos. The first thing I knew I needed to do to get great photos was to get down to their level, rather than just standing above them shooting down. I literally sat and sometimes actually laid on the ground so that my head was no higher than their heads. I snapped a couple pictures as they wrote their ABCs. Within a few seconds, I became aware of what was in the background of the photo, a big, ugly van. So I quickly shifted positions so that there was nothing too distracting behind the kids, and then I snapped a few more pictures. Soon, my focus shifted to how cute the kids' hands were as they held those big pieces of chalk. They've still got those cute little dimples in their hands, and they just look so tiny holding those big pieces of chalk. I noticed how Grace's yellow bracelet and her pink fingernails and green polka-dotted dress added pops of color and personality to the shots. So I got in closer so I could see those details a bit better. After I'd gotten close-up shots that I wanted, I began to notice how the sun low in the sky behind the kids was casting really long shadows and creating rims of light on their legs, arms, heads, and hair. I immediately panned down and captured those shadows, making sure to include the bottom ruffle of Grace's little dress and her flowery sandals just kind of as a fun added element. So while I was photographing the shadows on the ground, I began to notice the awesome texture in the sidewalk. I immediately zoomed in and made sure to photograph it. I also just took a couple minutes to take a few detail photos, such as the bright, happy colors of the chalk. This photographic thought process of mine has totally become second nature to me as I take pictures. Whether I'm on a professional shoot, like I said, or just home taking everyday photos of my kids, the bottom line is that I notice everything around me. And that's kind of what you as a photographer should be doing too. Not just your subject, but looking at the light and looking at everything around you before you take the picture. And then even as you're taking the picture, noticing everything. There is a lot to remember when you're taking photographs. You have to think about the light, you have to think about the composition, you have to think about getting your focus spot on, your exposure spot on, the background elements, and everything else that comes together to create a great photograph. And it takes time, it's hard, it takes a lot of practice, but I promise if you practice every day, those things will also become second nature to you. And will you make mistakes? Yeah, of course, I still do, and I do it all the time. I just don't share those mistakes. But it's gratifying to simply just go onto your camera and delete those mistakes right off your memory card, and rather just focus on the successes that you will get after lots of practice. If you enjoy this photography tip, then you're going to love the many more tips that I offer in my new class, Photography 101. Registration is open right now, and class begins on April 17th. I really hope to see you there.